what we were trying to find is those genes that are important to the mitochondria during the aging process. Now, in every cell of our bodies, there are over 25,000 genes, and those genes change with age. It's a lot like a car. Let me give you a little example.
Let me give you an
here.
analogy to show you how the mitochondria, well, let's compare it to a car, just in case you're not getting the message yet about the importance. So the car will convert fuel, gasoline or diesel, and oxygen into power, right? If you have a young vehicle, one that's just driven off the lot, then it's actually going to produce that energy quite efficiently. It'll be quite powerful. It's not going to have pollution. It's going to produce sort of a clean exhaust. And so it's going to have really good fuel economy, right? Now, as the car gets older, if it's like mine, a 38-year-old Land Cruiser, it's not quite as efficient anymore. It starts to age. So it produces less power. And along with that, it's actually producing more emissions than the EPA would like. And so let's compare that then to the mitochondria. It's really the same story. Mitochondria converts fuel and oxygen to power, to energy. As they get old, they get less efficient at doing that. And to make matters worse, they're producing some toxic byproducts, which we know as free radicals, which actually accelerate the aging process further and further damage the actual mitochondria. So you can see this is an extremely important area to focus on in terms of our energy and vitality in our youth. And, well, what happens to your car when it gets too old? How do you improve its performance?
Oh, Mark, you know I'm not very good with cars. I drive faster.
No, that's not going to do it. No, what you want to do is sort of restore your car to a sort of more youthful state.
You know, I did change the windshield wipers.
Right, not going to do it. Anything else? Any other ideas, Scott?
On how to improve the performance of my car, normally I just turn up the radio so I don't hear all the creaks and crackles.
Okay, so don't let Scott drive your car, okay? Well, that's really the crux of the problem. If this is the issue, if we've drilled down to the point where we know that the mitochondria are the issue, how are we going to retune those mitochondria? How are we going to do that?
Well, of course, it all stems from the nucleus. That nucleus contains 25,000 genes that controls every aspect of our bodies. But of course, they're not all responsible for what's happening to the mitochondria, right? So with our partnerships at LifeGen and our collaborations around the world with the leading anti-aging genetic experts, we've been able to identify that the mitochondria have 372 genes that change with age. But really, as we really narrowed it down and we looked at the most important, we were able to identify and target 52 of those genes, the genes that control the aging process of the mitochondria. So we used ageLOC science to first identify that, what we call a youth gene cluster, or these 52 genes, this group or cluster of genes that all work together to drive the aging mitochondria. We were able to find natural ingredients that are able to restore the expression level of those genes back to more youthful levels, which provided incredible benefits with all three dimensions of vitality. You can see up here, we've addressed the physical vigor, that mental activity, as well as that sexual desire. And I created this little slide to really help illustrate what's going to happen with this product and what happens in our bodies as we age. I drew this man as a young man with that youthful vitality emanating from every cell in the body. And that's, of course, as we're young. Now, as we age, what happens? I think everyone's experienced this. Our light bulbs tend to dim. That amount of vitality drops. Now, our competitors, they try to address this by looking at the signs and symptoms of the aging process.
Like turning on the windshield wipers, turning up the radio.
Our competition tries to do it with things like, caffeine, coffee, cola, 5-hour energy, Red Bull. That's what our competition's been trying to do. Now, we know that that might provide a very temporary effect, but it's not long-lived, and you end up crashing lower than you were before. So, for the first time, our scientists in the PharmaNext division were able to apply this ageLOC technology inside the body. And the target is, of course, the sources of this age-related vitality loss. And what does that mean? That means that ageLOC is able to target the changes that are happening at the cellular level to restore the activity of these mitochondria within our bodies.
Now, a cartoon is one thing, right? But let's try this out on some real living creatures. So we designed an experiment that Scott would like to share with you right now that really surprised even us in terms of its extent.
Now this was just a fantastic, just a fascinating, this is what makes science so much fun for us. We were testing these new vitality ingredients on animals. Now, of course, we have to do that for safety purposes. Now, we treat them just like you would your household pet. The animals aren't harmed in any way. They're housed in safe, clean facilities. They die of natural causes. We feed them healthy diets, and we observe. We just want to see what's happening to them. So we had this group of just normal diet of these mice, and we just watched them throughout their lifespan. Then we had another group of animals, this other group of mice, who we fed the exact same diet, only we would add these ingredients that we identified using the ageLOC science approach.
And it is important to note that they weren't fed these ingredients at birth, but basically they were healthy, basically young adult mice by now, equivalent to about 30 years of age before we then started to feed them an ageLOC ingredient.
So you're right. A 30-year-old in mice years, we started to feed the ageLOC ingredients. Now, it's important to note, these are genetically identical animals. There's no difference. These are brothers. And at 30 years old, we started feeding. And we waited until they were an equivalent of 96 years old. You know, what you typically expect of an aging human might be in an old folks' home, very limited mobility. And what we saw was just so striking, we had to get our video camera and we had to record it for you. And what we saw was kind of scary. The control animals that had been just fed a normal, healthy diet, at 96 years old, there was only one left. In the other group, who we had just did one change, added a single vitality ingredient, there were many animals still alive. But what was most striking is their energy levels. And let me just show you the video that we took of that. Now, the mouse on the right was that one fed the ageLOC vitality ingredient. And it's representative of all the other mice that were in that same group. Now, that one last mouse on the left, it looks like what you'd expect from a 96-year-old man or woman. Not a lot of energy, just sitting around, just moving a little. And as you look at that mouse on the right, it's so dramatic. As you see, compared to younger mice, the 30-year-old mice that are in the same area, they look exactly the same. It was just so striking.
Yep, and this is one of several that were alive at the time. And in fact, we took this video, I think about 2 months ago now.
Almost 3.
This guy here is still alive. Isn't that amazing?
That would make him about 125.
Something like that.
And he's not the only one in that group.
So I hope we've been able to share with you today some of our excitement. You know, when we were tasked with the idea of helping to rejuvenate vitality, we thought, you know, that's a tall order. But we actually were able to use gene expression science to target the source of aging. So we've gone into the body now, into the subcellular compartment, and targeted the mitochondria, targeted gene expression that affects the mitochondria with age, screened ingredients that were able to reset those youth gene clusters to a more youthful pattern, and then we're able to use that to guide our product development for ageLOC Vitality. We're extremely excited. But this is just phase 1 of ageLOC Vitality. Phase 2 is coming in 2011, and we're already working on that. But come to convention in 2010, in October, and we're going to share with you a lot more science about ageLOC Vitality. We have human clinical studies to share with you, some really cool heat maps, which I know you love, right, and understand. We're going to share with you as much science as we can to help you understand where we are. We're going to give you so much science you'll be vomiting. Thank you so much.